Hey, everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms, and I am joined here, as always, with Jake Sergis. Even though it says a different name, his computer's in his car, so he borrowed someone else's computer. So that is not Gavin Wurzberger. That is Jake Circus of the Jake Circus podcast. I just noticed that as we were doing that.
I didn't even realize it either, to be honest. I didn't
And
realize
this
it either.
is the draft recap jungle talk. Yeah, and we're getting it
Oh,
up for you right away. No delay. We're doing it right now. That's why here I got Jake using a borrowed computer. So before I forget, if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. This show's by fans for fans. It's all we ask is that you subscribe, hit the bell, get the notifications. We always throw up videos as soon as news breaks, and we always do stuff previews before and recaps after during the season. And Jake, tell them where they can find all of your stuff because you do a bunch of really cool podcasts.
yeah. Follow me on Twitter at Jake Circus. That's since you can't see it on the screen. It's a SIRKUS. That's where all my Bengals, NFL, all that content goes. Some gambling stuff too. And then the Jake Circus podcast returning probably late July, early August when the NFL starts to get back up. Yeah, so that's where all of my stuff is. And as always, I'm happy to be here. And I think the Bengals did really well.
I think they did
I
great.
think they did really well, Mark.
I hate grading drafts right away. I hate it when they say, oh, this team knocked it out of the park, because the draft I always talk about is the Browns draft, where they didn't take Julio Jones. They basically got the entire Atlanta draft class, and then they proceeded to bunch up, get Trent Richardson, bunch up picks, get Brandon Whedon, bunch up picks, get Greg Leto. 3 years later, they had virtually nobody from that draft class left. And Kuiper, all he did was talk about what a great job the Browns did. So you got to look at things 2 or 3 years later, but I really like the value that we got in the draft. I mean, I really, really did. I just thought there were two basic themes and tell me what you think about this: versatility and
Oh
speed.
yeah.
And
Oh
speed.
yeah. Oh
That
yeah.
across the board, those are the guys. They stuck true to their words about taking BPA, because in the first round, they could have had the tight end they wanted. There were linemen they could have had. I mean, depending on where they wanted to go, corner, they were all there, and they opted to not address that. Um,
Yeah. There
so
was some there was some chitter chatter amongst the NFL, I guess, public fan base, media, national media when, early March, mid-March happened. The Bengals kind of got a little bit gutted in the secondary, losing Jesse Bates, losing Von Bell. They did re-sign Jermaine Pratt, of course, which we're very excited about.
we
But
added Scott.
losing two premier players in the back end of your defense always sucks. And there was some negativity around the team and Lou Anarumo, what's he going to do? Because there was a time and place where before they signed Nick Scott, who's I think still going to be very, very good and very
Yes.
effective, where we had a couple of backups. We had Dax Hill and Tyson Anderson, I think, as our two safeties. So it was looking pretty glim, pretty weak, and the Bengals took that personally. And they, I think, at the end of this, maybe have the most complete defense, and that's probably what we'll focus on in this show because that's really what they did in the draft.
It
First
was
three
a
picks of
defense heavy
defense.
draft, so it makes
I, I
sense.
I think that they have their most complete defense for sure in the Joe Burrow era, maybe since 2015, and that defense that led that was towards the top of the league in pretty much everything that year.
Yeah, no, that was the meltdown year. So we go to New England, it's a different story. AJ McCarron might still be in the
Yeah,
NFL.
2015 was a lot of fun though. That was a really good team. It sucks
Yeah,
how it ended, but that was a really good team. And
yeah,
this new era, not new era, but this new window for the Bengals, and we can compare these teams to 2014, which was a really good team, a very high powered offense, and then of course 2015 when they won 12 games, and were a Dalton injury away from maybe making the AFC title game, maybe even a Super Bowl. And that's kind of the measuring stick that we can use because they had a really, really strong offensive line. They had three really good pass catchers. They had a very, very good secondary, and they had two or three premier pass rushers. And that's kind of what they're trying to replicate. They have an elite defensive coordinator, just like they did in 2014 and 2015. And they're trying to replicate that with a lot of speed and like you said, a lot of versatility. And
yeah.
as of now, look, on April 29 doesn't mean a whole lot, but they are as set up as they need to be on April 29.
Well, before we jump in, we're going to talk about the different picks. Before we jump in, one of the things that we learned about was that they do believe Irv Smith is fine at tight end because they didn't even address tight end. Obviously, they're happy with the offensive linemen they have. They might go shopping when we have cuts, before, but that will just be adding depth. But clearly, they're comfortable with the personnel they have because we didn't draft an offensive lineman. We didn't draft a backup quarterback. We still have to deal with that. I thought we might in the 6th, 7th rounder take a backup, so a project, and develop them a developmental quarterback. We didn't even address that. So we learned, like I said, they are comfortable with Irv Smith. It was not just a Band-Aid and they were going to pick up the replacement. They're comfortable with who they have. So it showed us a lot, but I thought we had great value in the picks we had. So, we go through it. Our first draft pick, this guy's going to play immediately. He's going to be plugged into this rotation. That's another thing, is drafting players that are gonna join the team and contribute immediately. Obviously, later rounds you're just adding depth or creating a competition, but immediately you want your first 4 or 5 draft picks to immediately in some way make the squad and contribute. And we're going to get that right away with Murphy.
Yeah, there's a couple of schools of thought with the Murphy pick because I don't think it was exactly how we thought.
Pump up your volume a little bit.
So there's a couple of schools of thought with the Murphy pick because I don't think it was exactly how we all thought it would play out. I did not think that they were going to go pass rusher. I was glad they did when he was still there. On the first level, they clearly think he's very good, which he is, which is awesome because he's a consensus top 15, at the worst top 20 overall player, and they got him at 28 overall. And yes, like you said, he's going to play a lot instantly. And there was some backlash, some discourse amongst Bengals fans on Thursday night, Friday morning with, why did we go pass rusher? We have Sam Hubbard, we have Trey Hendrickson. They're really, really good. Those guys play a lot of snaps. And look, they're very high motor guys, but when you're trying to build a premier pass rush, if you don't have a guy like Aaron Donald, a guy like JJ Watt, a guy like TJ Watt, you need as many high motor, powerful edge rushers that can get to the quarterback as possible. Now they have 3 for sure guys, maybe even 4, depending on Cam Sample, depending on Zach Carter, depending on Joseph Asai, who we think is very, very good, which he probably is.
I had him with 4. I think he immediately gets popped into the rotation.
Yeah.
I hope he play away.
Murphy is going to play. They weren't in a situation where they had to go like they did in 2022, where they needed to think for the future and say, okay, Jesse's on the way out. We need to draft his replacement at a very important position in our defense. They did that last year. That sets them up to go BPA at number 28 overall this year. And that's exactly what they did. It was very, very clear. If they wanted to draft Michael Mayer, they would have drafted Michael Mayer. They were never going to trade up back on Friday to get him. If they wanted him Thursday, they would have taken him Thursday. And we'll talk about the tight end in a little bit, but one thing I want to harp on Myles Murphy with is he is going to play and he is going to make an impact immediately, which they didn't have with their first round pick last year. And there were a couple guys they could have taken that maybe they would have made a better impact than Dax Hill, but now they for sure made up for that with a guy who's going to play 40 to 50 snaps per game and is probably going to make some big time plays.
Yeah, totally agree.
And one more thing, this is not a replacement for Joseph Asai. This is just retooling, making a position maybe that was a little bit more so towards league average last year and just making it better.
Right. No, and Asai's going to be in the mix. I have him in there as one of the guys that's going to rotate in. But he's jumping into a great room. And like I said, he's not going to start, but he's going to be in the rotation day one. That's my feeling. I don't know, just for fans, the second round on day 2 was tough to watch because I had all these guys that I thought we were going to take. So you're looking at the second round. Joey Porter goes right away to the Steelers. So you're like, oh, great. Another Porter on the Steelers. Not that I wanted Porter, but I didn't necessarily want to see him land there just because of the history with Porter and all that. But then you're sitting there, like you said, Michael Mayer goes to the Raiders. We talked Musgrove goes, to Green Bay. We're sort of sitting there thinking tight end. Then obviously we all wanted Brian Branch as a safety, and then he gets snapped up. And you're just sitting there watching all these players that you really want. We talked about Carbonet a bit on UCLA as a possible running back for us. Then he's gone. You're just watching everybody kind of go. And But I picked it. I called it DJ Turner. I said, remember I asked you, hey, do you think we're gonna be looking at somebody like Turner? And you said, no, he's a little small. I don't
He
see him as a
is.
fit for the Bengals. But here he was, I just kind of saw him as one of our options down there. I liked his ball hawking ability. I love his speed. And I also love the fact that he started out as a special teamer. He didn't come to Michigan and immediately, was one of their guys that started. He had to prove himself on special teams and work his way up through Jim Harbaugh's system to get to where he was. And when he got his moment, he made the most of it. So I know he's a smaller guy. And I know that he could get pushed off by larger receivers, but this is a guy who can close quickly. He can keep up with anybody. Obviously, he ran a 4.26 or something at the combine, fastest time. So, like I said, speed, versatility, and I really like that he was a special teams contributor at Michigan. He will, at a minimum, do that for us right away. And like I said, and it was just, you can go back and watch our preview video because I definitely threw DJ Turner's name out there. And when it happened, I tweeted you and I said, hey, DJ Turner, I called it. So it was just one of those. But real happy with that pick. And he rejoins Dax Hill, who was a teammate of his. So
yeah, there were a couple of times in the Fiesta Bowl against TCU where he was up against 6'2", 6'3" Quinton Johnson, who went in the first round on Thursday night to the Chargers, and he was bullying him. Maybe not bullying, but he was being feisty, ferocious.
He was holding his own.
Those are two adjectives that scouts like to use. And he's not a big guy, but man, is he fast. And that is something that is going to be much use because Bengals fans were very frustrated when Eli Apple gets burnt. That's not going to happen with DJ Turner. We know it doesn't really happen with Chidobe Awuzie. It's not going to happen really with Cam Taylor-Britt. He's way too physical. And they have kind of a who's who and a variety of corners now, a room that, I don't know, 6-7 months ago when Chidobe Awuzie went down would be like, okay, they're not going to win the Super Bowl because they can't win with this defensive backs.
Right.
Now, if these guys develop, this is going to be one of the better, defensive back groups in the NFL, I think, because they have everything. They have physicality, they have size, they have speed.
Right.
A lot of teams can't say that.
Right. No. And the speed, both Zach and I don't know if anybody watched the pressers right after the picks, the first pick and then the second and third pick, they had pressers immediately after. But Zach and Lou were sitting there and Lou says, hey, 4.26. Regardless of what you say about it, all that speed is speed. You don't you can't coach it, you can't create it. You either have it or you don't, and he has it. So he'll be able to close if he does bite, and then he has to make up speed. He'll be make up ground. He'll be able to do that. I just see him as a great addition, and like I said, I loved his ball hawking, and I love that he wasn't one of these touted guys when he came into college. He had to come in and prove himself and work his way up, and he's going to do the same thing on our team. I see him working special teams. I see him doing a lot of for us. Yeah, and if Awuzie doesn't come back right away, we're going to have him. He's going to get playing time soon.
Yeah, it's never an immediate fix. This is not the first time ever a team has drafted a couple of good defensive backs in the NFL draft. This is not going to be, they're going to be all pros the rookie year. But they have building blocks now. And this was, again, a position group that we've talked about multiple times on the show, that they need to start looking to the future, because Awuzie, as much as we all love him and as great as he was in 2021 and was pretty good in 2022 before the ACL injury, it's still a position group that they're going to have to look forward to, because Awuzie, again, as much as we love him, is in a contract year. Mike Hilton only has one more year left. And they have a really young player in Cam Taylor-Britt who they like, who's under contract, but is he a number one? I don't know. So now they have, all these guys, and if they re-sign one of them, they have building blocks to build around. And you could see the smile in Lou's face in, not only Thursday's press conference, but last night's as well. It was funny. Paul Dehner was like, oh, when they took Charlie Jones, we finally get to speak to Brian Callahan. It's been 2 days and we finally get to talk to Brian Callahan, because Lou has just been getting a variety of his guys who right. he's going to be able to do a whole lot of fun stuff with.
Yeah, well, day one and day two were all defense. It was a defense heavy draft, which I was okay with. Let's not lose sight that we didn't get Branch, but we did pick up Battle off of Alabama as a safety. And once again, this is an instinctive guy, which is a 3-year starter, I think. I mean, he's once again, here's a guy who's going to get playing time soon. depending on how camp goes. But I can't see losing Bates and Bell. I can't see how he doesn't jump into the starting mix and see the field, day one. At
I think
least
this I think this might have been my favorite pick. Now,
Battle.
Jordan Battle wasn't a guy I was really looking at heavily because I thought towards day two they were probably going to lean more sort towards offense and go either the best tight end, maybe the best running back, which we'll talk about Chase Brown. Oh, I
Yes, yeah,
love.
we're gonna get there. Yeah, we're getting there.
But I didn't really see safety, more so even defensive back day two, and he was there and he's ready. He is ready to play. And
Yeah.
and that is the one thing that, for people who didn't watch a lot of SEC Bama football, he's ready to play. And Nick Saban will tell you that he said that multiple times about this guy is going to make an immediate impact day one. Couple of red flags with him, couple of stuff he probably needs to get a little bit better at. But maybe not a day one starter, but he's so physical. And I think he's going to come in with, great in zone, skills against the run, plays downhill, great instincts, and he's just going to fit in with everybody.
Yeah.
Exactly what they're trying to do. He's going to make smart plays, not a guy who's going to make a whole lot of stupid mistakes, which is something that the Bengals defense has really made, to be a priority over the last couple of years, is not making stupid mistakes, and Jordan Battle fits right in with that philosophy.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And I'm not saying when I'm saying the guys are going to see the field, I'm not saying they're going to be starters, but they're going to be in the mix when we're bringing in nickel packages, dime packages. These guys are going to be playing week one. They're going to see time. Even on special teams. We talk about, and this was the versatility. Years and years ago, Bill Parcells talked about drafting guys that were 2-team, 3-team, 4-team guys. Those are guys that make rosters because they're playing kick return, punt return. They're playing multiple, and you want to load your guys you want to draft guys that are versatile and are going to be 2, 3, 4-team players. And that's what I think we did. Let's jump into Charlie Jones. Once again, speed. And what did he do so well in college? Kick return, punt return. So, I mean, he could immediately, whether he cracks the starting lineup, he's a wide receiver, whether he cracks the starting lineup or not, he could win the kick return, punt return job right now.
Yeah, he very well might. He's a weapon. He's going to be a weapon not only on offense, but as you said, special teams. A very, very profound route runner, and that's the one thing. I watched. I was a big Aiden O'Connell guy, so I watched a lot of Purdue football this year. I watched almost all their games, and he was just one of those guys that you watch in college football where you pause the screen and you look, who the hell is this guy? Because he's just everywhere. He was a vacuum. He was just a very elite college pass catcher. A little bit on the older side, but when you're bringing him in the slot, you hope he's ready. So you're not really that much worried about him being older. He was a 4th-round pick, so if he doesn't work, he doesn't work. But if he does, you don't care about his age.
Right.
He was just everywhere. But on the special teams, I think he's going to win the return job.
So do I. Yeah.
On April 29, I feel very comfortable if Charlie Jones by the end, by year's end, is the kick and punt returner.
Yeah, and this isn't a guy who's going to be that deer in the headlights. Not. I mean, this is what he did in college. So once again, versatility, 2-team, 3-team, 4-team. Now he's a 3-team guy immediately if he's doing kick return, punt return. So just like I said, great value picks. Then we get down to Charlie Brown. We're going to our running back. So
Chase Brown.
Chase Brown. Looking through the wrong end of my glass. Yeah, Charlie Brown. I'm looking at no Chase. There it is. My shadow of my hand over the thing. But once again, great burst, good speed. Does a lot of things well. And this guy was a good pass blocker in college.
Yeah,
so versatile guy. He can be back there every down if need be.
I'm very glad you mentioned that because I wasn't sure if you were going to. That was the first thing I was going to mention about your boy Charlie Brown. I mean Chase Brown. Sorry.
There you go.
But yes, he was elite in the pass protection game for Illinois. Illinois was not a very good pass offense last year. A lot of the stuff was on the ground. They had a couple of pretty good running backs. But Chase Brown, of course, was at the forefront of it. I think he was probably a 2nd or 3rd round talent, which we see every year when running backs who are really talented, they fall to towards day 3 because they're they're a dime a dozen, and if you need a running back, you can
Well,
go
and they
get.
have short lifespans in the NFL,
Right.
so you don't want to spend a first rounder on a running back if
But
you don't need to.
you spend a fifth round pick on this guy who, again, is going to come into camp with a chip on his shoulder. He is going to play a lot in training camp, and he's going to basically force Brian Callahan and force Zach Taylor to give him touches in September and October. And that's going to be awesome. That's the type of guy that Chase Brown really is, because when he has these reps in training camp, he's going to protect Joe Burrow. And that's something Joe Mixon doesn't really do.
No.
Is the first time he's going to pancake, Mike Hilton or Jordan Battle coming in off the edge, and he's going to pancake him, and he's going to protect Joe Burrow, and Callahan's going to be like, damn, this guy's going to play for us in October and September and, the first couple of weeks. And he's going to force himself to get the ball more and force himself to be on the field, which is pretty good because Joe Mixon is not a third down back. He's not a 3-down back anymore. They didn't really dip their foot in the running back pool in free agency. And I wasn't really worried because this was a pretty deep running back class. A lot of people, a lot of players who do a lot of things the Bengals need, especially with Joe Mixon on the roster. Respectfully, we have to assume Joe Mixon will be on the roster by OTAs, by training camp. He probably will at this point because they only got one running back. But I think this was a home run pick for Chase Brown. Super fluid, really, really good burst, as you said, and he's going to protect Joe.
Well, and he runs larger than he is. So when he gets to that second level, he breaks more tackles. He's elusive. He gets linebackers to miss. And think about what we just said. We're talked about 5 of our picks, and we've said they're all gonna see the field early. And that, to me, that's a win. With our roster as loaded as it is, and how hard it is for guys to break into this roster, these guys are all gonna see playing time immediately. So
it's hard for me to. We mentioned earlier we don't really like to give draft grades. I don't like to do that either. I like to kind of put myself in the shoes of the people who actually make the decisions and see if my thoughts align with theirs. And after 3 days of this draft this year, I completely see the vision. They wanted guys to fill spots. They wanted guys who are going to get a lot of snaps, and they got guys who not only are captains but are going to play immediately and are going to make super impactful decisions, super impacts very early on in the year. And Chase Brown is, even though he's a 5th round pick, he's going to play. This is not a Travion Williams situation where he's going to fight his way for 4 years to get a couple of snaps, maybe a spot start here and there. Remember they took Travion Williams and then what was it, Rodney Anderson? Took them both in the 6th round in 2019, and Rodney Anderson, I think, tore his ACL in camp and never really ended up playing.
Well, and Williams had his issues staying healthy. He would have these bursts in preseason. You go, oh my God, this guy's amazing, and then he would get hurt, and we wouldn't see him. He'd be back, with the hamstring injury or whatever it was. If he could stay on the field, we always liked him, but if we always say, availability is the most important ability. So
Chase Brown, he forced 83 missed tackles last season. The only running back in the country to have more was Bijan Robinson.
Yeah. So, and this is why I hate mocks. We talked about it. We could have spent days and days and days talking about tight ends, talking about Bijan, all these people doing mocks where Bijan Robinson wasn't falling to us at 28.
He was the favorite to go to Atlanta. He was like minus 200 to go number 8 overall, which I didn't even know when he was taken. I was surprised.
Yeah.
And then someone told me, oh, he was the favorite. And I was like, really? Like we're still doing that. We're still taking running backs in the top 15 in 2023.
Well, he's special. So that's one.
Oh, I love Bijan.
Yes, there's no question. He's more than Atlanta, a running back.
A little bit off topic here. Atlanta was the second most efficient running attack last year. They weren't very good at football, but they were pretty good at running the ball. So I don't exactly know what Bijan Robinson brings, like anything more than their already really good running attack, because they have Tyler Algier, who is really, really good, and they have a really good offensive line. But yes, Bijan Robinson will be on many highlight reels for years to come. So 8th overall, like, what are we doing here?
So now our next guy, we go another wide receiver, but this kid isn't he out of Hawaii? Or Princeton, but he's Hawaiian. I think he's yeah. So but I mean, this guy's tall. This is a 50-50 guy. I mean, he can develop into, once again, speed, and he's good 50-50 ball. So, on contested catches. So, and you're talking about the a sixth round pick.
Yeah,
So
he's, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I can't really say that I knew exactly who he was, but he's pretty big. He's 6'3", 205, had a really good
Los
RAS for the
Cevis.
combine.
I think it's Los Cevis.
Cevis. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's gonna make the team. This is, he's probably gonna compete with Irwin and those guys. So yeah, I mean, I did not think they were gonna take two receivers. I think the Charlie Jones pick, they're hoping that he turns into a Tyler Boyd replacement because it would be awesome if they
Yes.
don't have to re-sign Tyler Boyd. I think I would be fine if they think that they need to, but if they feel like they don't need to, I think that's a better scenario. As much as we all love Tyler Boyd, eventually your shelf life expires and he's nearing that part of his career where it might be time to say goodbye to our beloved friend. I did not think that they were going to take two receivers, and they did. He's a camp body. He's going to compete. He's probably going to make a couple of highlight reel plays and maybe make himself on the team.
Yeah. And if he can contribute on special teams, that will give him even a better shot. One of the reasons Thaddeus Moss never made our roster was because he could not help on special teams. It's just, you have to make yourself indispensable. And then then we pick up a punter. Now I know we had Crispin, we got rid of Huber, we have Crispin, but this kid from Michigan is brilliant at placing the ball. He's got great hang time, so the coverage gets in there, and he's brilliant on placing the ball inside of the 5 if you watch any of his highlight reels. So, Crispin's going to have some competition. He's not a shoo-in to be our punter. Let's see how this guy plays out. This also was the pick. I saw a lot of complaining on Twitter about us trading with the Chiefs. What the hell are we doing helping the Chiefs out? Listen, if you could pick up an extra 6th rounder and move back 3 spaces because you knew that you were going to get your pick, Turner, at 95 instead of 91 or whatever it was, you do it. You don't worry about, we're trading with, I could see within the division, but there was a whole Twitter uproar about what the F are we doing helping Kansas City. And no, we were helping Kansas City get what they wanted while we could get what we wanted, which was basically this was our add-in pick.
This is what good teams do.
Yeah.
When they're not desperate to fill depth spots on the entirety of the roster, they say they go into it saying, okay, we're going to try to pick up an extra pick and we're going to draft the punter. I don't know who's going to be there, but we're going to take a punter. So that there's McPherson. They were like, okay, we need a kicker, and obviously he's great. Kevin Huber sucks. I think Drew Crispin probably sucks too. He was awful in the playoffs. He was awful down the stretch when he beat out Huber, and Huber's leg just.
He started out okay, but then he had ups and downs,
old.
and he was erratic, and we need stability in special teams.
Yeah, I get it. He's from Ohio State. We love him. Maybe, but if this Michigan kid is good, maybe we have to love him, Ohio State Buckeye fans, because I know he's from Michigan, but he has a leg, man. He can really boot it. I don't really believe in ranking or having punters and kickers on your board. It's more of a coin flip. You kind of want guys who are going to work hard, and it's a punter. Like, he can kick. He has really good hang time, and like you said, Mark, he can place it, and hopefully he's able to adjust to the NFL level. It's kind of all we can really talk about with the punter because there's not like film on him. Like,
right.
He's not like better than X guy, because I don't know. It's a punter.
Well, you know what? But if you're a golfer, okay, and I can never do this. I'm not that good a golfer about putting backspin on the ball, but I play with a lot of single digits who can drop it in and bring it back. I can't do it. His punts have that when he needs it. He drops it like the 3.
About the speed that you bring down the club. If you bring it down with a lot of speed, you can get that backspin. We'll work on it. We'll work on it. I'll show you some tips.
So there you go. You know what happens is I'm thinking about the speed, so then I don't stop in my backswing and I end up sculling it over the green. So it's it's an art. And he clearly has it. If you watch his punts hit and come back, he has it. And that's an important skill. Lastly, we added another corner for depth. I don't know if he makes the team. I don't know a lot about him, this kid out of Miami, but But certainly, I have no problem ever adding defensive backs, defensive linemen. I mean, these are positions of need, offensive linemen. My biggest surprise, and let's talk about our biggest surprise here. My biggest surprise is we didn't add one offensive lineman. Tight end and offensive lineman, I thought for sure we were going to at least one of these late picks, what is going to be, and it was just not there. So, which tells us they're comfortable with Smith, and it also tells us they're comfortable with the linemen they have in the room right now.
It's so funny because the last 4 years, maybe not this year because the offensive line played well when they were healthy last year, but the 3 years before that, really in the Joe Burrow era, every pick, who's the best lineman available? Who's the best? Let's take him. But we have to. Who is the best lineman available? Let's take him. And they never really ended up doing it. We go back to 2021 when they took Trey Hill. Wasn't really an impactful player. Obviously, they took Jonah Williams in 2019. But other than that, it's been the free agency guys. And then last year, they surprise everybody and they take Cordell Volson, which a lot of people seemed like it was a reach. And he becomes the best Bengals offensive line draft pick of the Zach Taylor era in terms of value, because I think Cordell Volson in the third or fourth round was
something like that. Yeah.
Was a better value than what they got from Jonah Williams, number 11 overall in 2019. And he's going to be out the door this year. 0 all pros, no Pro Bowls, injured, as much as I love Jonah. So it was kind of funny that
Jonah needs to take this season and put film and either earn yourself extension or put something on film to where you make yourself valuable in free agency. And that should be motivation enough for him.
So the main point of this is, the last couple of years, we were like, okay, who's the best lineman available? Let's take him. And they never really ended up doing it. And when they did take a lineman, he wasn't very good, except for Volson, who was a surprise. And then they, dished out a shit ton of money for Kappa, for Collins, for Karras, and then, of course, for Orlando Brown. And they feel like they're comfortable. They feel like they're set. They feel like they have a franchise left tackle. They feel like they have a very healthy conversation at right tackle. And then the interior is going to be very strong as long as those boys are healthy, which they weren't in January, and it fucked us. But we hope they're going to be healthy for hopefully all 20 games in 2023. That's the goal. You play 20 or 21, depending on whether or not they get the bye, which I think they will. But anyways, they were they're very comfortable.
Right.
I am more surprised they did not take a tight end.
Yeah, I was too.
Not taking a lineman.
Yeah,
I don't think I'm. If you would have asked me 4 days ago, will the Bengals draft one offensive lineman? I probably would have said yes. But at a premium spot, probably not. And they didn't. They feel like they're comfortable. And as long as their guys are healthy, they feel like they have some depth there. Maybe draft a couple of undrafted guys for camp bodies. But overall, for the first 3 months of the year, they used the same offensive lineman every single week. And then, shit hit the fan and they all went down at the same time.
Right.
Which is what cost us. They could have been fine if one of them went down. Maybe one goes down in November and he comes back after Christmas and you go on the run, but they all went down at the same time, which is very rare. It probably won't happen again. Hopefully not, but they're comfortable. Now, if we talk about the tight end, I was very surprised. It's a very thin position. We are still getting those effects of that awful Drew Sample pick, and he's currently still the backup tight end, and he has no pass catching abilities, and he's not really that good of a blocker anymore, but they like Irv Smith. And one of the things I was telling my dad, who's out of town and couldn't join us today, is if they would have wanted Michael Mayer, they would have taken Michael Mayer. Yeah. But I kind of, you need guys, you want to draft guys who can tackle Mahomes, and tight ends can't do that.
Right.
And if you're drafting a tight end to be your fourth pass catcher, maybe even fifth pass catcher, depending on who you have at tailback, what's the point? And that's what they eventually decided. They came to agreement, and there wasn't really any great value. Sam Laporta went very early. Obviously, they passed on Michael Mayer, and he goes pretty early on Friday as well. And that was kind of, Kincaid goes very early in the first round.
Yeah, well, he was first rounder, yeah.
So there was no value there, and we saw that. We talked about it a couple of times about the value and how their board shook out. Their board did not allow them to take a tight end, and that's fine with me.
Don't worry. Listen, there's still undrafted free agents that we're going to add. So they may have people. There may be a tight end that they know.
Hey, we found Stanley Morgan in the undrafted free agent.
Listen, Burfict
we
Buck
were in lockdown at
undrafted
the
free agent
draft.
out of ASU. So
I think he might have been Iowa State, but anyways, this guy who made so many highlight plays in college. I'm pretty sure he was Iowa State. I don't think he was ASU. I think
no, ASU. I would say Burfict was ASU.
Oh, Vontaze, yes,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course.
He's an undrafted free agent.
Yeah.
Marvin had coached the Senior Bowl that year and
Yeah.
had interaction with Burfict, and
Right.
all of a sudden, boom, he visits, he signs.
There you
So
go.
there's
Yeah.
undrafted free agents. Also, we have the roster cuts that are coming, and teams go shopping. So there may be somebody who drops into our lap, from other teams that as players cut them and hope to sneak them onto their practice squad. That's going to happen at the end of the year. So it doesn't mean we're not going to add anybody. And there's still some late, free agencies. I know that they need to deal with getting T and Burrow's extensions done. That's going to be the next top priority now that we're out of the draft. But real happy. And I want to add about the offensive line. Adeniji played really well down the stretch. He played much better. And Collins, is trying to encourage Williams to, hey, we're going to make the shift, stay on the team, stop crying. Collins is going to be back. He may not be at the start of the year, but we've got some pieces back there. Like I said, it tells us a lot that they're comfortable with who they have in the offensive line room.
Also, keep this in mind. Landon Collins played a little bit of guard in Dallas. I think he might have played a little bit of guard at LSU. So they have a ton of versatility. We hope Landon Collins is healthy. We hope he's efficient. We hope he's that
Leo Collins. Leo Collins. I know. See, okay, I did Charlie Brown and you did Landon. So there you go.
Oh, did I say Landon?
Yeah, no, you were saying Landon. Yeah. And I was thinking, did he play?
I'm mixing up my SEC guys. Landon Collins, of course, went to Bama. I'm mixing up my SEC guys. But yeah, Leo Collins played some guard at LSU. I think he definitely played guard with the Cowboys a couple of years when they had the two fantastic offensive tackles. So they have versatility. Collins probably not going to start. That's Jonah's right tackle spot. Obviously, Brown at left tackle. So they feel really comfortable with where they're at. They feel really comfortable. I think Bengals fans maybe forced themselves to convincing themselves that Cordell Volson's job was not safe, but he played pretty damn well.
Oh, he was
I think his job was always safe.
He was everything we asked for when we drafted him. So, I just try to remind everybody that we've got to trust our staff. You've got to trust Duke Tobin. You've got to trust Lou. You've got to trust Zach. Trust these guys. Look at what they've done over the last 3 years, both in free agency and the draft. They put together a roster that got to a Super Bowl. I mean, we didn't just get a playoff win that we hadn't had in nearly 30 years. We got to a Super Bowl. We've gone in and had multiple 2 consecutive AFC championship appearances. And I want to point out something. Our draft pick in Brown, his brother is on the Eagles, and the Eagles had a great draft. And we had the 2 Kelsey brothers meet in the Super Bowl, and we could have the Brown brothers meeting in the Super Bowl. Just kind of throwing that out there because they have a great story. The NFL loves backstories and all this. And there are two boys that were forced to move out, and live with another family and here they are. They both made the NFL. It's they have a great story. And wouldn't it be neat if we had the Brown brothers meeting? The year after we had the Kelsey brothers meeting, because I got to tell you, the Eagles had a great draft. They went all in to beef up their roster. They showed every intention. They intend to be back in the Super Bowl this year. I really like them in the NFC. So Eagles, Bengals.
The NFC sucks. The Eagles are in a very good shape to win it back.
Oh yeah, I
will give you a sleeper team. Give you a sleeper team. I'm not saying that they're going to make the Super Bowl, but the Seattle Seahawks, the one problem is that they have Geno Smith at quarterback, and I hate taking teams who don't have elite quarterbacks to go very far, but Seahawks are building something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Listen,
just feel it. Devin Witherspoon is going to be I think Devin Witherspoon and Tariq
defensive rookie of the year probably
are going to be the best corner duo in the NFL in 2 years' time.
Yeah. No, I agree. I thought the Seahawks had a very good draft, and being an SC guy, our fans, because they're Ohio State fans, but I'm a Pac-12 guy, Pac-10 and Pac-12. So I have no animosity about Michigan or any of these schools. I just don't have all the baggage that comes with
Right.
being an
I'm
Ohio
the
State
same way.
fan, where you hate these other guys. It doesn't roll like that for me. So I have
Yeah.
absolutely no problem with it. So and
I
I trust Pete Carroll. I really
oh
do.
yeah.
I
No,
trust it. So, I'm
I'm
here in
from the
Los
same
Angeles.
neck of the
He was the king of LA. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
all those years we didn't have a team, we didn't care. We had the Trojans, in the title contention every year with Pete Carroll. So,
Yeah. I mean, I'm from the same neck of the woods that you're at.
mm,
Southern California, Trojan territory. I'm not a Trojan fan. They were kind of my team last year because of how much I love Caleb Williams. But
oh,
I'm from there. I go to school at Mizzou. I couldn't give more of a fuck about Michigan or Ohio
yeah,
State.
it doesn't even enter in. Oh, it's a Michigan guy. We don't want him. What do you mean? We want quality players. I don't care where they come from. So, and Caleb Williams, speaking of him, he signed his deal with Neutrogena. He's getting like $3 million. We're gonna see how the name, image, likeness, now that these players are getting to sign some contracts. If he wants to stay another year, if he decides not to enter the draft
Oh no,
next
he's
year,
not staying.
he
He's
can.
gone.
Hey, it's not going to be money. They're not going to need it immediately when you're getting a $3 million paycheck from Neutrogena. You're already getting the
Yeah,
fruits
but number
early.
one overall pick contract, you get $28 million the moment you get
I know,
drafted.
I know. Well, it's going to be, but it's if he doesn't like the team now, you don't have to not, threaten to not sign. You just stay in college for one more year. It's simple enough. It's
Very
not
risky.
need the money. Gives
It's
you
very risky.
choices. I would say money doesn't solve problems, but it gives you options. And if you do have problems, isn't it nice to show up your problems in style with money? So it doesn't solve them, but it's not a bad thing to have. Well, Bengal Nation, you should be excited about. I don't care what
Oh yeah.
Kuiper says. I think we're going to get good scores because Kuiper usually they recognize. I think we're going to get B plus or something from those guys. But even if they don't commend our draft did exactly what we needed to do. And like I said, trust our
You know,
staff. Look at what they've done the last few years. Just
you
trust
know,
Zach, trust Lou, trust Duke Tobin, trust
right.
Callahan, trust these guys.
I I want to say one more thing off that exact thing. So before Burrow came, I feel like it was a Bengals consensus that we would always get disrespected by the national media. So now that we're good, the fuck do we care what Mel Kiper has to say? We have Zach Taylor, Brian Callahan, Lou Anarumo, who have done nothing but revamp this roster to the absolute maximum capacity the last 3 years, and they love how the board fell. So what do we care what any of these clowns have to say?
Yep.
The guys that we want to be listening to are ecstatic about the guys that we got. You saw Lou Anarumo with a big smirk on his face the last 2 days saying, I think I'm good, guys. I think
Yeah.
he just lost an $80 million safety, a franchise player, not less than 2 months ago, and he's like, "I'm good.
Yeah.
Let's run." When's week one?
Right.
You know.
Well, and I want to remind everybody, we had already won the offseason with the Orlando Brown signing. And the fact that we didn't lose any of our coaches. The Eagles lost their coordinators, both gone. We kept both. Lou did not go anywhere. This may be the last year we get to say that, so let's enjoy it.
Probably.
Because I got to guarantee a better job that Lou might come across his way next year.
Arizona's a bad job.
So Arizona was a job he didn't want, and I'm so glad. I was happy when they didn't, push, that I knew they were looking at somebody on the Eagles, and I knew it was going to be a signing, afterwards. So, but just guys, enjoy. This was a great draft for us. I'm really, really excited about the season coming up. And
there's a lot of players that are gonna be very good Bengals, I think.
yeah. So I agree. So, all right. Hey, Jake, I want to thank you. Not Gavin Wurzberger. It's Jake Circus. When I read on my Twitter feed, this is always pinned. The latest episode's always pinned, but Jake's Twitter account is always tagged, so you can always get to it. He does a gambling podcast. We're going to do a couple gambling shows. We'll do a show this summer on the futures. We'll do a show talking about our favorite futures bets. So, but both Jake and I dabble a little bit in the
Seahawks
gambling.
Bengals Super Bowl exacta plus probably 45-1. Seahawks Bengals exacta Super Bowl future.
Yeah, well, actually, we can also see what the Eagles are too. It won't be as good of odds, but because you're not going to be able to make money. The Joe Burrow MVP, I think it's only 7-1 now. That's we're the favorite to win the North. It's, the 24-1 to win the North when I
I
hit
think
that
our win
$50
total is
bet.
like
Those days are over.
11. I'm
What's
pretty
that?
sure our win total is 11. We'll probably get steamed up to 11 and a half by September, which is pretty
Probably.
ridiculous considering our
So,
win
but
total was like 7 2 years ago.
if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. It's all we ask. This is a show by fans, for fans. We'll be putting up some more shows, waiting for news to happen. Burrow's extension's going to probably be late May, June, something, probably a post June 1 signing, but we'll be doing shows. So we'll be back on. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell so you get the alerts. And Jake, tell them where they can find all your stuff before we go off.
Twitter at Jake Circus. That's Sirkus on the last name. Love interacting with some Bengals fans. That's where my NFL content goes. And then the Jake Circus podcast on Spotify and YouTube, same last name. We'll start season 3 towards the end of July when the NFL starts, when the OTAs are over, training camp's about to begin. And yeah, a lot of gambling picks and a lot of NFL stuff coming your way.
Yeah, all good. So, and Al, I'm gonna hop off. I'm gonna watch that the Suns game. The Suns game. I went and tipped at 5:30. So we'll get
Kings
this
play
one done.
tonight too. Big Kings game tonight too. I think that's actually starting in like a half hour.
Yeah, so there you go. Lots of sports, great time of year. Love it. But you can see how hardcore NFL fans we are because we're not watching postseason hockey or basketball. We were glued to the draft. So with that, I'm going to say hoot everybody. Have a good rest of your weekend. Take care.